What happens when the most infamous Is It Real horror tape of the VHS era gets reborn in the age of endless scrolling, viral clips, and algorithm-approved violence? Now, this new version doesn't just recycle the old shock footage. It follows a young content moderator whose job is to watch the worst thing people upload and quietly decide what the rest of us are allowed to see. When she stumbles into a series of hyper-real death videos that might not be fake at all, she's pulled into a nightmare where the line between stage gore and real human suffering starts to disappear. So today, I am going to give you a spoiler-free review of what this movie is about, talk a bit about who made it and who's in it, and then share whether I think it's worth your time, especially if you're on the fence about how intense it gets. This channel covers the film genres of sci-fi, horror, action-adventure, prop culture, and all things geek. And today we are talking about the new 2026 horror film Faces of Death, a modern reimagining of the famous 1978 shock documentary that pushed the limits of what audiences were willing to watch. So let's get into it. I'm Rob, and this is A Constantly Racing Mind. Unlike the original 1978 version and subsequent sequels, this new version asks a very 2026 question. What happens when that same appetite for graphic death and is it real footage is fed by social media algorithms and endless short-form videos? Our main character is Margot, played by Barbie Ferreira. Margot works as a content moderator for a TikTok-style video platform. Her job is to watch the worst things people upload, violent attacks, accidents, disturbing clips, and decide what gets removed and what stays up. She spends all day staring into the darkest corner of the internet, so the rest of us don't have to. Margot is already dealing with her own trauma when she begins to notice a series of extremely graphic videos from a mysterious account. Now, each clip looks like a different staged death, but the realism is unnerving and they're clearly designed to go viral. As Margot digs deeper, she realizes these new videos seem to be recreating scenes from the original Faces of Death movie. And she becomes convinced that this time some of them might actually be real. From there, the film turns into a tense, paranoid descent as Margot tries to figure out who's behind the account, whether the kills are real, and how far her company is willing to go to look the other way if it keeps engagement up. The more she investigates, the more she risks her job, her safety, and her sanity. Now, this movie is directed by Daniel Goldhaber, who previously made Cam and How to Blow Up a Pipeline. That same mix of genre thrills and social commentary is here again, only now it's aimed at internet culture, moderation jobs, and our obsession with watching shocking videos. The film stars Barbie Ferreira as Margot Romero, our lead content moderator, and of course our protagonist. Dacre Montgomery as Arthur Spevik, he has a special role in this. Josie Totah as Samantha Gravinsky, and Jermaine Fowler as Josh, and Charli XCX as Gabby. So, if you want to go in blind, expect dark, meta slasher built around online gore, content moderation, and the blurred line between staged and real violence. It's less about jump scares and more about how ugly it feels to stare at death on the screen, and why we keep doing it anyway. Critics are split right down the middle on this. Rotten Tomatoes is still in the rotten range with a score of approximately 45 to 55%. Those critics are split, but the majority is leaning negative. On Metacritic, it's more of a 50 to 55 mixed average split. It fits right in that interesting but flawed zone. On the positive side, there's a real respect for the idea. One review calls it a sharp update that understands how modern audience consumes violence. Another says it's more thoughtful than its reputation suggests, anchored by a strong lead performance, and I totally agree. And that's where a lot of the praise lands. Barbie Ferreira carries the film when it focuses on her and the psychological toll of what she's watching. It does work. Audience reactions are a bit more positive. horror fans seem to appreciate the concept and the restraint, even if that's not what the title promises. So where does that leave it? Faces of Death 2026 is an interesting swing. It's smarter than you expect, but not as intense as it needs to be. Strong lead, solid premise, even tone and execution. And I want to be transparent here. I was not intending to review this film. I tend to lean into horror that has a guilt, grief, psychological, or a paranormal vibe to it. But I thought, like Margot, I would see this film so you don't have to, or at least not in theaters. I can tell you that the film is unnerving, to say the least. It's uncomfortable, not just the violence, but mostly the character's reaction to it around Margot. Is that Goldhaber's fault? No, I don't think so. This film is just a reflection of who we are now, and that it's not pleasant. Dacre Montgomery's portrayal is somewhat uneven, whereas Barbie Ferreira's acting was more convincing. I am a 2 on this film. I see the point of this endeavor, and the cast and crew made a valiant attempt to put together a social commentary. However, I don't think it landed. Even as a mindless slasher-style horror film, it did nothing to advance the genre or to be a good for your soul. So that's where I'm landing on Faces of Death 2026 without getting into any real spoilers. It's a dark, uncomfortable horror film that cares as much about what we watch and why we watch it as it does about blood and body count. Whether it works for you is going to depend on your tolerance for grim, grounded violence and how interested you are in a story about content moderation, viral death clips, and audience complicity. So, if you've seen the movie, let me know what you thought down in the comments. Did it go too far, not far enough, or hit exactly the kind of nerve it was aiming for? So, if this non-spoiler review helped you make that important financial and entertainment decision, hit like and consider subscribing to A Constantly Racing Mind for more horror coverage and ending explainers. Check out for the Intelligent Moviegoers t-shirts in the description, and I suggest the RunP app for those longer films. The app lets you know when it's the best time to sneak out for a quick break. Take care, and I will see you in the next video.